Good evening, everyone. We always like to start off our class with giving because how we give, that's how Hashem will give to us. So let's give generously so Hashem can and will give you generously. I'm going to put some coins in the tzedakah box. Please join me from home. We also are doing this in merit for the complete refuah shalema for Rafael Chaim Meir Ben Simachasha, Chana Yenta Rivka Bas Shindel, Chana Bela Bas Dvorah, Yosef Ben Dvorah Leah, Razel Bas Hadas, Dvorah Leah Bas Yafaliba, Esther Bela Bas Yehudas Chana, and everyone that needs. We dedicate this class weekly to that the hostages should come home immediately and safely returned. And we're also doing this in honor that the Chayalim and the Chayalot from the IDF should be safe and return home and be successful with Hashem's help in their holy mission. I do this class weekly in memory of my dear grandmother, Rivka Dina Bas Yosef Yehuda. I hope you're proud. Chaim Dober Ben Betzalo, my great uncle. To save a life is saving a world, and he saved many in the Soviet Union. Bela Bas Betzalo, my other grandmother. I hope you're proud. We're going to say Tehillim now, and we're also going to say thank you to Hashem for returning the hostages to us, the 4 on Shabbat, and we hope to see many, many more. All of them returned immediately. So, Kapitel Chaf, Psalm 20. Lam natseach mizmar leDavid, Yancha Adonai b'yam Sarah, Yisagevcha Shem Elehei Akai, Yishlach Ezracha Mikaidesh, Umitzian Yisadecha, Yiskar Kol Min Chaisecha, Ve'elascha Yidash Nesela, Yitain Lecha Chovavevcha V'chol Atzescha Yimalei, Neranena B'shua Secha, U'v'Shem Eloheinu Nidgo Yimalei Adonai Kol Mishala Secha. Ata yadaiti ki Ashia Adonai Mishicha Yaneu Mishmei Kachai B'Gvorai Seisha Yiminai. Ela v'Recha v'Ela v'Susim v'Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Naskir. Hema Karu v'Nafalu v'Anachnu Kamnu v'Nisaydad. Adonai Ashia Melech Yanenu v'Yam Karenu. Before we start this evening, I would like to share a few words of inspiration on Shavuos. It's a very special time. We receive the Torah, and I'm going to share a couple of points with you. Okay. Ruth and Shavuos, accepting Torah. Ruth accepted the Torah when she continued with Nomi. So too, we receive and accept the Torah anew every Shavuos. Reclaiming Judaism. Ruth is regarded as the quintessential, sincere convert. When we received the Torah, we all converted to Judaism. King David, the great-grandson of Ruth and Boaz, was born and died on Shavuos. Ruth demonstrated willingness to suffer for the sake of Torah. We too must be strong in our commitment to the Torah. The harvest. Shavuos is the harvest festival, and the bulk of the book of Ruth happened during the harvest. So those are a few points about Shavuos. We're now going to share a screen share of a beautiful video of the Rebbe sharing about some converts coming past them and how special they are to the world. So give us a moment while we pull up the screen.
Rabbi Bamza converted me and my wife this morning. And I'd like a blessing to serve Hashem with the figure of
are converted by the person, by
Rabbi Bombs.
Rabbi Bromser.
And we want a blessing from
Which
you
would be
to
a
serve Hashem.
good start for a new life and provide from God from strength to strength.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I would like a blessing for all the Jews in Louisiana for the concern, how they're concerned about David Duke
Yeah.
running for governor.
And now you are included in all the Jews as me and all the people around there. And God bless you to have good news.
Thank you for sharing. Now I'm going to introduce to you our guest speaker. I want to thank my dear cousin Dvorah Leah and Druzier for recommending Talia Nerenberg to share. Tonight's title is My Journey to Orthodox Judaism, Revealing Life's Mission Through the Seeds of Tragedy. So Talia, if you could please share with us your incredible story from Miami, Florida.
Thank you, Hayo, for having me, for inviting me to the show. It really is special to be able to share some ideas right before Shavuot. You know, last week when you reached out, when you first said, hey, I want you to share your story. Of course, I said yes, you know, without hesitation. But then I said to myself, do I even have a story? And then I realized, of course, Talia, you have a story. You know, you chose to convert to Judaism, like Orthodox Judaism in the 613 commandments. You know, like you willingly chose this. Most people thought I was insane when I was doing it. There's that phrase that says a spirit of folly enters for you to commit something silly. For me, it was like in the reverse. So, you know, I volunteered to keep Shabbat, not use electricity, not drive a car, to cover myself from my elbows to knees, to wear stockings in the heat of summer. And it gets pretty hot in Miami. I changed my name. I left behind friends. I moved to a new place. I gave away my dogs. And now I even wear a wig on my head. So to anyone from my past, they think I'm on the run from the FBI. But I do have to admit, like, all these changes were a bit shocking to my sweet mother. She's adapted to them. And the only thing that she really can't bring herself yet to do is to call me by my new name, Talia. So she calls me my daughter. And the truth is that it works for both of us. I am her daughter. And the only thing that's concerning her these days is actually my family's eating habits, because what we Jews lack in the food variety, we make up in quantity. I mean, and you guys can understand, right? Like everyone goes crazy to prepare in the secular world, like a meal for this, you know, for Thanksgiving. Oh my God, I have to go ahead and cook the salads and cook the turkey and the sides and the chicken and the soup and desserts. Yeah, we do this every Friday. So, but even to that, she's adapted to to coming over on Friday. It's actually become her favorite day to be over. She doesn't stay for the meal. She thinks it's a little bit too much, but she comes to help out with my kids. I have 4 little kids under 5. So she helps out, which is a huge help for me. And right around 5 p.m., then I see her, she starts grabbing her little containers of food, packs some Moroccan fish, Sunday dinner. She packs a gefilte fish for the cat. She packs the chicken soup Monday. She packs the chicken Tuesday. She packs the meat. This is for Wednesday. I only have to worry about Thursday nights. So it really gives me great pleasure that I can help my mother out with a whole week's worth of food from our one Shabbat dinner. So we Jews eat. I think to the point that we're making ourselves sick a little bit. But so Hayat, so answer to your question, like, yes, I have a story. And although it's unique in the garments that Hashem clothes for me to get close to him, this is a story that I think that any observant born Jew can relate to, because at some point in our lives, we're each called to get close to him. And often it's through the seeds of tragedy, it's through darkness. And that darkness, it's really what reveals our life's mission. So I'll start sharing my story. I'll start from the beginning. I was born in a little town, Nicaragua, and I came to the US when I was 9. My mother remarried the previous year that she was here. So she brought me over to start a new life with her. She was expecting my sister, my only sibling. And for the first years, it was an ordinary life. You know, I was learning English. She was a homemaker. My stepfather was working. And suddenly, life shifted. At the age of 14, my mother had to go and take a trip back home. So she left for 1 week. And during this 1 week, she left with my sister, and she decided not to take me because I was in school. So she didn't take me out of school. And my stepfather, it really only took a few days before he took advantage of this time that my mother was away. And he came into my room one night. He sexually molested me. And I can't tell you what that did to me because I was a 14-year-old girl. I didn't know what to think. I was confused. I was scared. And most of all, I felt really disgusted that this man was touching me, right? It was my mother's husband. And I'm sorry that I'm being graphic or that I'm sharing this, but this is the story. This is my story. And so my mother came back. He did try it on another occasion without success. And I must have been very distraught during this time. I didn't share it with her right away, but she knew that something was wrong. One day we were driving to school, she parked the car, and I confessed to her. I told her what happened. Now, putting myself back to that 14-year-old girl, what I wanted to hear at that moment was, oh my God, I'm so sorry what happened. I needed to have like her embrace. I wanted her to hug me. Everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. I really just needed my mother to be there. What ended up happening instead is that she was really struck with fear, like her own fear. And she said, you can't say anything to anyone. You have to keep this a secret because if he finds out, he's gonna leave me. And I didn't really know the extent that these words would hurt me. You know, this really marked the beginning of like 20 years of me being in pain, wanting to engage in self-destructive behavior. So I knew, so life went on for a few weeks as if nothing happened. We were meant to live together and not talk about it. I was never taken to therapy. Nothing was done about it. Then I was just scared living in my home. I was 15. I was scared to live there. So I left. I left my home at 15. I moved in with a boyfriend who, he was a friend, became a boyfriend. At the age of 17, I got pregnant. So we got married. And soon after, this was during September 11. So he joined the military and he deployed to Iraq. And Iraq he never came back the same person. I mean, the things that he saw, he was dealing with his own pain when he came back. He had PTSD, but we just didn't know it at the time. I just thought he was acting out, and he was acting out his own pain. So by the age of 21, I became a single mother. And I have to tell you, like, I became a mother at 18, and to everyone was like, oh, it looked at such a negative thing. But Hashem knew what he was doing, because this boy was the greatest gift that he gave me, because I cared enough for him to be functional, to be responsible, to get my college degree, to have a life for him. I didn't love myself enough, because after what happened with my mother, I thought I wasn't lovable, because if my own mother wasn't there to protect me, then I wasn't worth protecting. But for him, I was able to fight for. Then, so during this time, I was still in pain, not seeing a therapist or not really taking care, not healing of this pain. I was a mom. Then I entered a relationship that lasted for about 6 years. We didn't live together, but we were just together. The secular world is really notorious for doing this. You go out for years on end without really an end, without marriage. So, but this relationship was really toxic. There was an overindulgence in all these things that we call like the pleasures of life, right? Like food, going to restaurants, travel, material possessions. Like he was older than I, and we just had a lot of fun. It was a very non-purposeful life. And of course, when you overindulge in the permitted, as Tanya says, like soon you come to go into the not permitted. So it led to alcohol, to sex, to drugs, and at some point it got to physical abuse. So once I got there, thank God I ended it. This was about 2011. I was 27 years old. Then I entered a new stage in my life. Like I became obsessed with self-help books. I wanted to grow. I started triathlons. I really just wanted to be better. And then the most unusual thing happened during this time. I lived in Sunny Isles and I saw this lady walking on a Saturday as I was doing my training. But she was dressed, Miami Beach is not so modest, right? So she was dressed like with the skirt to her knees and she was covered and her makeup was impeccable. And there was something in that I found, like she was just so royal that I wanted this. And I said, it just sparked my soul to say, I want to live this life. And here she is like pushing a stroller. She has no idea. She looked like she was heading somewhere with a mission, right? And this image to this day, it's still very powerful to me because we never really know how we're going to impact other people, right? This lady was just minding her own business, going to shul, and she sparked something in someone that she became the catalyst for a person to go in and change their whole life. So, but she sparked the desire, but I didn't act on it yet. I went home, I researched it. She was Jewish. And I was like, wow, I was just taken aback by her lifestyle, but didn't do anything. But of course, if something is meant for you, when Hashem is calling you, he shows himself in different experiences and through different people. So I was in New York City, and right across the street from my hotel was this sign that said, come in and change your life. So I walk in and I said, I want me 2 of those. And it turns out that it was a Kabbalah center. And they hooked me up with a mentor in North Miami. From the moment that I sat down, I said, I want to convert. He's like, oh, hold off with that. With that thought, you really don't know what you're talking about. And he was right. I had no idea what I was talking about. But I started learning there to the point where I knew I learned enough that wasn't the real thing. But it so happens that I was meant to be at the Kabbalah Center in the beginning because then I met someone who started a conversion process through the Beis Din, and I ended up connecting with my mentor that took me through the whole conversion process with the Beis Din of Miami Beach. I always find it fascinating how there's these connections and Hashem works his ways and through people. And so I started my conversion process. And of course, you have interviews, very intimidating. You get put right in front of 5 rabbis. And the first thing they ask you is, so why do you want to convert? no smiles, all with big beards, with the hats, not something that I was used to back then. So, and these questions, I always find, I started giving off like, oh, this reason, that reason, but really like when a convert brings himself to that moment to say, I'm gonna convert, there really isn't a reason because it's not a logical thing. Like it's beyond explanation. It just, what it truly is, it is a desire that is so strong that you're willing to do anything for it, right? And especially once you start keeping Shabbat, like you can't go back to a life of not having Shabbat. And you start to realize like what a gift this religion, the traditions, what a gift Hashem gave to us. Like if you, even just with Shabbat, we're able to practice presence, right? Because if you're not supposed to be thinking about work, you're not supposed to be thinking about what happened before, and you're also not supposed to be planning tomorrow. So you're leaving behind the ego of not worrying about the past and not worrying about the future and not having guilt. We are supposed to be practicing our presence. But so the more I learned, just the more I became like I couldn't go back to a life of not having it. But of course, they tell you the base thing, they tell you no, like go back and keep learning. So this happened a total of 2-3 times until I was in tears saying, no, you have to let me convert. There is no other life. So, and that's when they said, okay. And it's, I wanted to share just a story because even through this process, right? And here I was, like, I really wanted it, I was learning, but even then, like, I needed, like my mentor, I still needed someone to push me with different things, right? So I was 3 or 4 months into the conversion process and I was still wearing spaghetti strap shirts, right? Like, even though I was wearing skirts, I was still like not covering. And my mentor said one day, like, come on, you're in a conversion process, like it's already been 3-4 months. Like, start dressing like a Jew. And of course, like, I didn't really like hearing this, because like, I thought to myself, is it really so bad that I'm showing my elbows? And she's like, it doesn't matter. Naaseh benishma, you do it and one day you'll understand. And soon enough, like, I understood why that was needed. Right. And this person was very special to me because especially as you're learning how to become Jewish, you need someone to kind of guide you and take you along. But this is not just through the conversion process. We need this type of people in our lives all the time, right? We need someone, an objective person to say, oh, I don't know if we're, to call you out on your things. So from this process, I learned that you always need someone. You need a mashpia, you need someone to call you out. So, but after 18 months, I got my stamp. I became Jew. I went to the mikvah, and this mikvah experience was really transformational because from what I shared from my past and my family, I was here, I was covered with a blanket, the 5 rabbis were up there. And at that moment, of course, they decide to test you and give you some questions right before, like, as if you don't answer what they're gonna say, no, you don't pass, get out of the water. But they're silly questions, so of course we're gonna pass. And so when I said all my questions, I answered them. And they said, like, okay, so we're gonna be dipping now. And at that moment, I really felt like Hashem was saying to me, like, come, my child. He was embracing me in his arms. And I tell you, like, people live like 1,000 lives and they don't come close to that experience of knowing and of like feeling that love and embrace that I experienced in that mikvah. Every so often I go back to that experience because I felt his presence there. After the mikvah, you start doing mitzvahs, and the first one, of course, is Netilas Yadayim. You walk out, you wash your hands, and now I have been practicing this for 18 months at least. But the fact that now I had an obligation to do this, right? Like now I was actually, as I was washing my hands, I was a conduit, like to bring down light by, by washing my hands and putting myself at service to my creator by doing a class, like Hashem, help me do your work, with my hands. So it was a totally different experience. Every mitzvah that I started doing, it was just, I felt that difference of doing them not being a Jew and doing them being a Jew. And that was a total gift for me. Now, it also, like this whole obligation of giving, of doing mitzvahs, it really, I felt the difference on now there's a purpose, right? Like a Jew has a special purpose, which is to be a conduit, to draw down the light. And that is so special that we have this, right? Because you're naturally of purpose. By you doing mitzvahs, you're drawing down light to the world. So Viktor Frankl, he's the person who came up with logotherapy. And he says that from our suffering, when we see the meaning, it really changes everything. So when we give, like, it really gives purpose to our suffering. And I choose to believe that this whole experience, right, like the darkness that I had with my mother and my stepfather, and that search was to get me to this, like to where I am today, right? So to be able to leave my family, to not have that connection, that close connection with my mother, to be able to be searching for Hashem. And really, like, I know that like I said, my whole story, it's painted with these garments, right? Like of conversion, but we all have darkness in our lives, right? We've all had experiences where either we're having problems with a child or, with our partner or some experience. But it's really like our job is to take those sparks of good from the evil and transform it. When we talk about, like, we're here to transform the good, the evil to good, like this is what it's referring to, is to elevate those sparks from the evil, to take our experiences and say, you know what, like what's the purpose here? What can I do with this? Like, how can I help out another person? So, and that's my story.
Wow. So couple of questions. So we spoke before, so I got to know a lot of your story. Firstly, I just want to say you're amazing because, when there's darkness and you find light, it just shows that, like, your strength that you have within you. And so happy that you're part of the Jewish nation today. Just want to say that. If you're comfortable with this, could you tell us when you moved and you converted in Miami Beach with the rabbis and with a mikvah attendant present, correct?
Yes. And
Okay.
also I had read somewhere that, you should always have your.
The rabbis weren't in the mikvah with you. They were
At some
waiting.
point they were like only
Oh.
to see, like to
Okay.
test me. So yes.
Okay. But when you were immersing, how does that work?
How does that work? So like I said, I had my teacher and I also had my best friend there.
Okay.
And so the attendant is watching, but the rabbis are facing the other way.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
And by the way, and you're not,
Yeah.
you're also, before you also have a blanket over you.
Okay. So it was done very modestly.
Of course.
My question for you is, okay, so you moved, I met you when I was in Bal Harbor many years ago, and always we had such a beautiful connection. So if you can share with us, like, how you got to know Dvorah Leah, who recommended you to share, and you mentioned that you were part of the shul of Bal Harbor, and I think that would be very interesting to hear how it all came about, because I know that there were a lot of people along the way that helped helped bring the light out in you. And we'd love to hear, because maybe someone out there needs a little bit of guidance, what to do when they're in pain and who to go to, and the advice that you got, if you feel like you got good advice in your life. And we'd love to hear that. So thank you.
Yes. So I I moved to the to Bar Harbor, Bay Harbor area, because I have my son and I wanted him to be in a vibrant community. And you know, Surfside, we all know that it's very happening. And he had a few friends there. And so I moved there, and the first thing that I do, and I was already taking classes with a few women that I've always like, they were like Ruth, you know, like she needed that guidance from Naomi, right? Like she looked at her and the way that she lived her life, and that was the vision for her. So I always looked, and also because I didn't have that mother figure, I always looked for these powerful, like strong women, because that's really what the Jewish women represented to me, like strong, that led their families and their kids. And so I was taking classes with Vivian Perez, like wonderful lady. I wanted to be like her. We go to her home and be like, I want to be like Vivian.
I just want to say, I also want to be like her one day. I'm very lucky to know her as well.
Yeah, she looks, you know, she looks royal. She always looks beautiful. Like she gives classes. So I always had all these women around me that I was learning from. And so when I moved to the Bar Harbor, I already knew people there. And I made an appointment with the Rabbi Lipskar because my son, they separated our cases. So I was Jewish, but my son was not. And of course, I felt like it was kind of my duty to guide him towards it. But it was always his choice. Like I always told him, if you're going to do this, this is because you want to do it. You know, I'm your mother. I'm going to love you no matter what. But of course, like he liked everything. He was called to it. So I sit down with the rabbi, and I had no intentions to talk about me. It was really more about like getting him a sponsoring rabbi to learn with people. And Rabbi Lipskar, you know, they say that people go all the way to Israel to sit with them at Kavo, so that way they can like tell you, you know, like what's wrong or what to do. So you don't have to go far. Rabbi Lipskar's right here. And by no means, this is not an advertisement for Rabbi Lipskar. If you want to know what's, you know, unknown secrets to you, then go to Tikkun Healing Center. But anyway, so I sit down with him and I start telling him about my son, and he's like, you know, you have a blockage like in you, like there's something that you're holding there that it's not letting you, like it's not letting energy flow through you. And that, like when he was saying this to me, and when I was looking at him, he was just looking right through my soul. Like I couldn't hide anything from him. Like it's like he was looking at just my body and my soul just covered with the blockage of this pain that I had been walking around with. And I just started crying. And he said to me, you know, you don't have to tell me what happened or what's wrong. You can sit down with my daughter, Dvorah Leah, and she'll help you. And that's what I did. I followed his advice and I shared my story with her. And she gave me a hug, and she recommended a therapist who we did EMDR. And EMDR was very helpful for me because it allowed me to process things differently. I was carrying around this guilt and this like this feeling of disgust with myself. And he just kind of helped me see things like the perception that I was just a 14-year-old girl, like it wasn't my fault what happened. Like I shouldn't see myself in that light because I was a pure soul that was hurt. So that was very helpful.
Wow. So in times of need, we should turn to someone for advice. We have with us a surprise guest on tonight. Dvorah Leah is here with us. And I would like for her to mute yourself and put your screen on and share with us a little bit of your side of the story because you were such a big part of Talia's story of healing. And I just want,
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm not able to be on screen, but I messaged Talia, I messaged Chaya privately in the chat, and I said, can I please say something? Because as you started to speak, I said to myself, I wonder if she's going to tell her whole story. And I'm so proud of you. You're sitting here with a magnificent sheitel, looking absolutely like a Jewish princess, and with your whole beautiful new family that I just saw over Shabbos a couple weeks ago. And I'm just incredibly proud of the journey that you've taken and the journey that you still are on. Because I think when you're in this type of world, we're forever healing. And when we get to a certain level, we want to go deeper and we want to grow more. And I see that very much in you. And I'm just beyond proud of the person that you are today.
Thank you. It's very, very sweet.
so special. Thank you, Dvorah Leah, for that. Just gonna plug this real fast. We have a weekly Shar B'Tachon series going on weekly. I'm gonna put in the chat box and in the recording for those that are listening, how you can join the chat. We post Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Shar B'Tachon, we learn it inside with insane insights and stories. Dvorah Leah and Druzier is a addiction recovery coach and a Shar B'Tachon enthusiast, and she teaches all over Miami now. And we are very lucky to have this class with us. It's also on our YouTube channel under Chaya Mink, ChayaMink. Please subscribe and check it out. So Talia, back to your story. So you moved to Surfside and you find more light in your life and you go to this therapy that really helped you release pain that you have and had. And then can you tell us the rest of your story? Because I know the rest of your story, but about today, about your children, about your wonderful husband and your family life and what it's like and what's your favorite mitzvah. You know, we don't have a choice when you're born into it. Like we are like, hey, this is what you got to do. You have to do the whole Torah, 613 mitzvot. So it's like, it's ingrained in us, but you had to learn it from scratch, like from the letter Aleph to Taf. And I'm sure you have a favorite mitzvah because you really got to experience the mitzvahs in a different way. And in a way, I envy you because you got to learn it like so authentically and had to really experience it in such a real way. And we'd love to hear from you, like, what's your favorite mitzvah? Thanks.
So I I do believe that, you know, the totality of all the Jewish souls were at Sinai. So if my soul went through this whole journey of conversion, it was because it needed to, right? And I think maybe it's because it needed to, maybe my past life, I didn't appreciate being a Jewish, you know, I didn't appreciate the mitzvahs. I didn't have a love for them. And I needed to experience this in this lifetime. Well, who knows? But it really is a gift for me because I lived a life of not doing the mitzvahs, not purposeful. So from the moment that I wake up, like, and this is why I needed to convert, because how can you live a life when you know that there's a blueprint on how to live it, right? Like the Torah teaches you everything. And when you wake up, Modeh Ani, and for the longest time, this has like really helped me because I would wake up and I already would feel like anxiety or a little bit of sadness. But just by being alive and being able to like have the opportunity to have another day to be with my kids, that alone like should really like it takes away the anxiety. And after, I do have a little bit of a routine. After I go and I do Netzilas Yadayim, I have either my cacao or my coffee, and I have a gratitude journal. And in that gratitude journal, I I put the 3 things I'm thankful for and the 3 things that will make today great. So that way I can anchor my day with like gratitude. And they tend to mostly take the, like, I'm thankful for my husband, for my kids. I've put there, I'm thankful for my mother, just so that way you guys know, like years later, that therapy really helped me, and I now have a relationship with my mother. I'm consistently working on it because for a long time it just bothered me to have her near, like to come over, but I'm consistently working on that relationship. And so yeah, so this routine, like it really anchors my day on being positive, right? So Modiani, Nitlas Yadayim, I just absolutely adore, because when we do Nitlas Yadayim, like I shared before, we're preparing ourselves, right? And we're putting the consciousness of being of service to our Creator. Like we work with our hands, we interact with our hands, we make things, we create. And so to say, please Hashem, like draw down, like like I'm a conduit, draw down your energy so I can serve you. Like that's what Nitlas Yadayim is, like how powerful. So I try, so I have, like I said, I have 4 little kids, and to get them to school, sometimes like, brush your teeth, one, brush your teeth, the second one. But I'm like, you know what? I try to like take the time because I know how special this is. I know how special it is to have them wash their hands and do Nitlas Yadayim in the morning. So that way they know, like, okay, it's the first mitzvah of the day. Like, thank you, Hashem. I also love to teach my girls, like, just to be thankful for everything that we have. Like, if you want kids to be like, to live in gratitude and to be happy, like you yourself have to like exercise that. So we get something and, oh, thank you so much, Hashem, for giving me my brothers and my sisters. We have a big family, it's 8 kids. Thank God, like we have 4 little kids, and then my husband came with 3. I had 1. So together it's 8. So yeah, so just being thankful all day.
Wow. So special. And now you have a blended family together with your husband. And that's so special. And I actually met your husband and you, like both of you in Bell Harbor. And it was really special to see you both. And you guys just are a light and just such a wonderful couple. This is from like the view of an outsider. And I'm really so thankful that you shared this story. If anyone, while I ask the next question, have any questions, please post it in the inbox and I will ask it before we conclude. As well, just please put in the chat box where you're from. We're going to do a roll call shortly. And because we have ladies that tune in weekly, we do this class weekly, usually on Wednesdays. We did this on Monday night because it's Shavuot on Wednesday night, and we like to not miss a week. So I'm so thankful to Talia for saying yes to doing this class, because you are the light of this week. All right, so
I wanted to share actually something that I do think is important that through my experience, I learned through my conversion process. I really only wanted to, once I started learning what Judaism was, I became enamored because I was learning. And the more I learned, the more I wanted. And really this conversion process taught me how important it is like to be learning. Because a lot of times we women, like when we prepare for the holidays, like we're in the kitchen, we're making this, we're setting the environment. But then we come to the holiday and sometimes we feel empty because we didn't learn enough. So yeah, we're preparing the physical, but how much have we prepared on the spiritual level? So like learning, it's very important.
agree. Okay, so we have a question that came in, and if you're comfortable answering these questions, please do. How did you meet your husband, and how did he handle your past issues?
Yeah, so I met my husband we were both on like online dating, JWed. So we just made a connection there, but then afterwards we didn't pursue it. and I was at a singles event for Tu B'Shvat, the Rosh Hashanah of the trees. And we met there. And from that day on, we dated for 3 months and we got engaged, and a month later we got married. So how did he handle with my issues from the past? He had bigger issues. That's how.
Answer.
Once, once I converted, there was this like this peace, right? I mean, I think this is like something that converts really can relate to, that like everything that you were in the past, like now you can create yourself anew. So I wanted to live a life of Torah, like everything by the book, you know, like even when we were dating, like no touching, no kissing, no nothing, even though we were like grown-ups he had 3 kids, I already had 1. So I've always wanted to, I knew that I felt like, okay, now I get a second chance to like live the way that I'm supposed to. So I did everything right. And 3 months later, shortly after my marriage, it started presenting that he also had a little bit of a history with with addiction. And so he was the one who was presenting the problems. But I was there, you know, we dealt with it. He was recently in Eli Nash actually to share his story. And of course, to me was like, Hashem, you're so funny. Like, here I am, I convert, I become a Jew, I'm keeping everything. And the guy that you sent me, like, you know, he has problems. But of course, Hashem knew exactly who to send me because he really is like my perfect mate. So that's really how he deals with my issues. He has bigger ones.
Okay. But you guys are growing together, and that's what's so beautiful, because you could understand each other and be there for each other. Because if one of you didn't have experience with one of the things, sometimes it's hard to relate to each other. So it's very beautiful that you can, and Hashem should help you guys just keep growing and doing big things together. And it's really, really so special. I know that nothing happens for a reason. And we know that sometimes hardships, like you said, brings out the best in you, which it does. No one should go through hardships, but unfortunately we are living in galus, darkness, and we need to be the light in the dark. So sometimes we wait for the light in the end of the tunnel, like Shane D. Jacobson says, but we should be the light in the tunnel. So it's pretty incredible that you were able to be that light and find what really made you happy. And obviously, if you chose to become Jewish, that means that you were at Mount Sinai, like you said, by Matan Torah, because otherwise you wouldn't have chosen it for you. I mean, 7 Noah laws is what every single person has to keep. But then a Jewish person has 613 laws. So that's, you know, I don't know, it's not so equal, but before Hashem chose the Jewish nation, he asked all the other nations, which was very fair, if they wanted the Torah, and they all said, no, it's not for me, which I understand, it's a lot. And we said, Nasa v'nishma, we will do, and then we'll hear, and we'll learn together. And that's why we share all these stories to get inspired, you know, just by your story, you shared like how much washing your hands in the morning to purify your surroundings, because that's why we do it, and saying Moda'ani, being thankful and gratitude, that is the basis of our Torah. We have a question, which Jewish there? Okay, someone asked, okay, we'll answer that like privately, if that's okay. I will get you in touch, so I will put my message in the chat box that you could reach out to me, that you can ask her directly. So I have another question. What made you look into a Jewish dating app?
Jewish dating app. Yes. I first started with creating a resume and people, and sending it, like I gave it to a few people, like rabbis or people started also recommending other people, but and by the way, it's really like, I don't hold it against them, but they very much put me in a box. Like, I was a convert. So every suggestion was like either someone who converted or mostly like a lot of converts. So, and that's not what I wanted. Like, I converted, I had no Jewish family, and what I wanted was someone who had a big family. Like, I wanted to have family over for the holidays, and I wanted to be invited for the holidays. I didn't want it to be just me and him having no family and no one else. I married someone who's one of 10. So Hashem he listened to my prayers, and I have a huge family from his side. And so all the recommendations that came through, they didn't feel right for me. That's not what I was looking for. And I didn't hold myself to this box either. I knew what I wanted, and I knew I just had to keep praying for it, and Hashem was going to answer my prayers. And what was the only thing left after that? Really, the dating apps. So I did try I tried two of them, and JWed seemed like the more appropriate one for me. I've met a lot of guys, and most of them was just like one dates. My husband was the only one who made it to the third round. And
I'm so happy. And where is your son today? Like, where is he in the story? Does he like that you're Jewish? What's his part in all this?
sure. So he's now 21. At the age of 15, he converted. His conversion came to an end, and the process. And he was going to the Hebrew Academy. He became very close with with a group of friends. Like, they're still very close. He's in his own journey. There's things that he doesn't keep, and there's things he does. And, that's between him and Hashem. And I'm there really just to show him that that this is the life of, like, that we both chose. And he sees me that I'm very happy, and he sees like how much good there is in being Jewish and the religion and keeping. So he went to yeshiva for a year, and right now he is in Japan. He's studying there for 1 year, and then he'll be back. But he's doing well. He's happy.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Holidays, he goes to the Chabad of Japan. Thank God there's Chabad everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Come
Tara.
on.
And okay, so we had a question, and I actually think it's important because maybe some listener wants to hear this. So maybe you can give a little bit of direction. Okay. Which Jewish therapist did you go to or recommend for release of emotional blockage? I believe it was, or you don't have to say which one, or how can someone find help if they need help with a certain darkness that they have in their past, or feel stuck and they don't know where to go to? Like, what would you recommend? Because I know that Dvorah Leah recommended for you to go to a particular therapist, and now the audience wants to hear from you, like what you would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're looking, it's also good to go to, like, I've met different people, and I didn't just keep that one therapist, right? Like, I know the show of Bar Harbor used to have these like science talks, and someone said something and it spoke to me. I think asking also people like rabbis in your community, being open about what's going on with friends, because sometimes it's a friend who recommends. Like, I had a friend, one of my son's, his friends, his mother's a therapist. So I wasn't going to tell her my family problems, but she recommended someone that she saw that she thought was good as a family therapist, which really helped my relationship. So I don't want to really give any specific names, just
Of course.
because.
So What's a therapy that helped you?
I
Was
did
it
EMDR.
EMDR? Okay. Okay. So if anyone needs guidance, you can reach out to me and I can try to connect you to someone. Or you can reach out to your local rabbi, or, if you have any questions, really feel free to reach out and we will try to address it. Someone wants to know, what is EMDR? What's that type of therapy? If that's okay to ask.
So EMDR is you process your memories in a different way. What it does, it's like you see a light beam, or you also hear with your sounds, depending on what the therapist is using. And what it does, your mind goes to recollect the memory that's bothering you. Like, where did it come from? So you start off by, let's say that something triggered me, and I don't know why I'm being triggered by this one event, maybe with my kids. But then I start thinking about it and I start hearing the audio and looking at the lights. And by doing this, my brain goes to the origin of where that memory came from, like where that triggering began. So that's what EMDR is. And as you're doing this, you're talking about it. And if you have a good therapist, they'll help you reframe that memory. Like what I mentioned before, like that reframing of that experience, and also like reframing even with my mother. Like I went to, my therapist helped me reframe and bring compassion, because I was still holding all these negative feelings towards her. But he helped me reframe it to where I saw, like, I brought compassion, and by bringing compassion, what it did is that it empowered me to instead of feeling like a victim, it empowered me to give her love and to be compassionate towards her. And now, there's also different modalities that are new. My husband, he also has, like this acting out was due to also, to sexual abuse in his past. And this is a person that was raised Jewish his whole life. He just, this is what happened to him. And he saw this also through an ayahuasca ceremony and experience. And he was so taken aback by how this has helped him that he actually started a healing center.
Wow, that's incredible. You can check out his story on, I don't know what Ellie Nash is. You can Google it, Ellie Nash. And what's your husband's first name on YouTube?
Eliezer Nerenberg.
Okay, so you can Google that and it will come up. I don't know what Ellie Nash's podcast is called, but
Search for more.
say it one more time.
In search for more.
In search for more, so you can check it out as well. I will be watching it after the class. But I really wanted to thank you, Talia, today for really being vulnerable and sharing your story and showing us how you can be at the darkest time in your life, but also have light in your life. And Hashem should continue to bench both you and your husband and your beautiful blended family, and just to have so much nachas and joy from them, and only revealed good. And Hashem should only give you good, and so incredible. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. So appropriate for Shavuos. I'm going to say in the beginning of the class, the Rebbe shared about converts. So if anybody missed this class, it will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow, so you can see the beginning. Some asked in the chat. It's under Chaya Mink, my YouTube channel. I'm Chaya Mink Ben Shimon, but CHAYAMINK. So you could check it out. We do this class weekly. So if you'd like to be part of this class, I will share in a moment how you can get involved. And before I do the roll call and we share our incredible video for the end, I just want to say that thank you. It's very important to have Akaras Hatov. So I want to firstly thank Hashem and the Rebbe for this opportunity that I get to do this every single week, and put out, and they give me the most wonderful people that comes my way, it's not easy. It's very easy to connect, but I'm living in New York now and I don't see Talia on a daily basis. I didn't even know that you had such a story. I had no idea that you were a convert, and you're such a beautiful person. So thank you. So I want to thank Dvorah Leah and Druzier. I want to thank my mentor and mashpia for the class, Shandy Jacobson. Thank you for everything behind the scenes and being such a huge support. I want to say thank you to all the ambassadors of this class. An ambassador is someone that shares this chat with and the classes with their communities, and you can become an ambassador today. I share my merits with you as well. It's pretty incredible to see how far this class became. I want to say thank you to all the viewers of this class, and I'm going to leave the best for last. I want to say thank you to my dear husband. Without him, we wouldn't have the recordings, and without his support, I'm pretty much, this class consumes my life in a good way. And it's probably sometimes a little annoying, but I'm always thinking and sleeping and trying to put the best speakers where they can come. And the proof is in the pudding, like my husband says, but people keep coming back, and we keep having new people joining and tuning. And we have consistently 60 to 70 to 80 to 90 people weekly that tune in live, and then hundreds after. In fact, we just hit 1,000 subscribers. That's homegrown, which is very exciting. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share our channel with us. We have over 120 classes. I also want to say we started a Shar HaBitachon series, which I mentioned earlier before. You could see the recordings on the YouTube. We posted on the chat, which is in the chat box. Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, the recordings. That chat is strictly for Shar HaBitachon, and we all need that in our life. It was written, Shar HaBitachon was written by a holy rabbi that was not Chabad, but the Lubavitch Rebbe recommended anyone that had troubles in their life to learn Shar HaBitachon 3 or 4 times to review it. It's mind-blowing how something that was written a few hundred years ago is so relevant to today's darkness, and all the examples that they put in Shar HaBitachon, you would think it's from the modern days. So I really recommend everyone to tune in. You could learn it any way you want, but Dvorah Leah and Druzier is my recommendation now. Like, she is incredible, and I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to have her featured on our class. So thank you. We're going to do a roll call. I just want to say, last week we honored Rabbi Kotlarsky. He passed away, a giant of a man, a humble man. So, it's incredible that he passed away before Matan Torah, during someone's lifetime. I mean, we always knew how powerful he was, but we didn't know how much. But at his funeral, we saw how many people showed up. It was one of the biggest funerals I've ever been to since. I haven't been to the Rebbe's funeral, but I saw pictures and videos. I was young. I was 9 years old, so it wasn't so appropriate for me to be there. But it was, you could hear a pin drop. Everyone wanted to go to the car to say goodbye, to say thank you for all the incredible, amazing things that he did. And I want to say thank you because, you never know who's watching you. And something that we took on, they do it at the Kinnas HaShluchim for the men and women. They have separate ones for Shluchim all around the world. Like Talia said, there are Shluchim in Japan and literally anywhere on the map. Okay. And the Rebbe started this. And in the beginning, when he sent out Shluchim, he was laughed upon by the world. But now we see the importance. We have Jews that are around the globe, around the world, and they're spreading light in every country, in every city, in every state. And it's pretty incredible. And this was all the Rebbe's vision. And Rabbi Kotlarsky was a soldier and is a soldier to the Rebbe and Hashem. And he lived for the Rebbe. Everything he did was for the Rebbe. He literally had such high connections to people, but he didn't take anything for his personal self. He wanted to just keep giving to the shluchim, and he showed up for them, which is so incredible. I went to his shiva. It was mobbed I'm so thankful to his wonderful wife. She has a big legacy to continue, and she has her own legacy herself. She's incredible. And my condolences to all his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and all his siblings, and obviously all the shluchim. We have big feet to fill. So this is something that he started, a roll call at the Shluchim convention. And I thought it would be pretty cool since it's Zoom world, and it's pretty amazing that it's still working, the Zoom, that we have people that tune in, some on this call tonight, which is, you know, people that are time zone Eastern time, but then we have people that tune in. So I'm going to just say South Africa and Israel asked me to please give a shout out that they tune in weekly on this class. They're not on right now, and England. But tonight we have with us, and you can still put in the chat box if you did not, where you're from. We have Toronto, Canada, Crown Heights, North Carolina, Flatbush, Miami Beach, Brooklyn Heights, New York, Florida, Cedarhurst, Far Rockaway, Chicago, Atlanta, Arizona, Bal Harbor, Florida, Surfside, Florida, Bay Harbor, Florida, LA, Australia, and Bolivia. That's pretty wild. So thank you, everyone, and Baltimore, Maryland. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us. And it's pretty wild how many people tune in on a weekly basis, and thank you, because without you this classes wouldn't happen. And I also want to say thank you to every single guest speaker that we had that agreed to speak, because without you this class wouldn't happen, and sharing your stories and being vulnerable with us, because you never know whose life you're going to touch. And I know you touched many. I get crazy feedback, and I just want to say I really appreciate feedback. I send it all to the speakers. So please, to give a thank you for this class, we'd love to have feedback. You can reach out to me on WhatsApp, or you can send it to someone to send it back. Each week I send all the feedback that I get to the guest speaker, and it's just really special. So thank you, Talia. We're going to conclude now with a beautiful video of the Rebbe, who I love so much, and I'm so lucky that I had the merit of meeting him personally till I was 9 years old. And now he's in my life every day. I live by what he says and try to continue his legacy. So we're going to pull it up right now. Give us a moment.
Und mit der Gräten, durch die Zugreitung, als jeder von euch soll sein, bin Beisa Knesses, beschaß der Tfila und der Not der Christ Atera von Aseres Adibreis, sehr nechet a jeder von euren Brüder und Schwestern oder andere Kinder, jüdische Kinder, zu welchen ihr konnte greifen, wird ihr sehen, als sie soll nechet sein in Schuh, beschaß mit Lehnen in der Aseres Adibris, und nechet a Weile Kecher, als heiße Sicher Meeres Mitzrayim, und nechet einwirken auf eure Eltern und auf alle eure Bekannte, als sie sollen tun, alles was hängt auf den See, bringen jeder jüdische Kind und alle jüdische Kinder zu der Krieg von Aseres Adibris Bezibur, Berev Am Hadras Melech, in Abayis Godel, in Abayis Knesses, was sichert bis speziell noch Abayis Hamedrosh, und dort die Beschlussenden, die Achlotenden, beschaß sie wird sein, bis Simcha auf Tuvli Wo, werden sich sicher tonenden mit der ganzen Lebendigkeit und mit den ganzen Sturen, wird das aufsturren in der letzte Tag von Golus und wird zuheilen dem Keit Som Lachesher, der Ende von dem Golus. Und der Gula Amitis war schlimmer, alle dem Meshiach Tzidkenu, das wird sein, now mamash.
Wow. So we got to hear the Rebbe's voice, and it's so amazing how he always focused on the children. He spoke to the men, the women, and children, but it was always about the children. And another thing is, we start off with tzedakah, the Rebbe's, I wouldn't say favorite mitzvah, but a mitzvah that was very important to him, along with all of them, was giving tzedakah. So we would hand out, he chose the mitzvah of giving out dollars, and he would give out dollars every Sunday. He wasn't a young man. He used to stand on his feet for hours and hours and hours and gave people dollars to put in the tzedakah box. many people kept that dollar because it came from a holy tzaddik and they used a different dollar to put in tzedakah. So it's pretty incredible. So I want to wish everyone that they should accept the Torah again, because every year it's anew, with joy and love, and really learn why we do the mitzvos. We accepted the mitzvos, but now we should also learn why, so we could appreciate what we're doing. Thank you again, Talia, so much for sharing your incredible story with us of coming to our tribe. Thank you.